Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for being on our webinar today. My name is Danielle Haney, and I'm the Trade Relations Specialist here at CLIA. And I'm happy to introduce Steve Smoitris, who's the Director of Sales for Cunard North America. He has been in the cruise industry for 17 years and has led teams in various areas such as market planning, revenue management, and shore excursions before coming over to the ships world. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Steve.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Awesome. Well, whenever you're ready, Steve, we are excited to see the presentation.
Well, great. Thank you, Danielle, and thank you, everybody, for taking the time today to spend a little time talking about the world of Cunard. Lots of exciting things going on, and obviously a lot of great history. So I am Steve Smoitris, Director of Sales. I concentrate on the national accounts world, but my world kind of extends beyond that. I really like getting out there and meeting all of our travel agent partners because, you know, it's all about the partnerships and those relationships that we have. So Cunard is a really interesting story, and it always is a story. 178 years in the making. You think about it, there's not a whole lot of companies that have been around 178 years, much less companies in the cruise industry. So Cunard's really been an innovator. Cunard had really made modern cruising what it was and what it is. And it's the brand that has probably the most famous ships ever in the world as well, and some of the most famous people in the world that have sailed on Cunard over the years. But today, Cunard's a very contemporary product, relatively small fleet of only 3 ships, but very modern ships and a very modern and contemporary experience. We like to call it in the luxury space, luxury on a grand scale, because if you look at most of the luxury products in the luxury space, most of them are smaller ship experiences. Cunard's ships are a little bit bigger. Queen Mary II is about 2,700 passengers. Queen Elizabeth and Queen Victoria are each about 2,000. So now in today's world of all these mega ships, it's really not that big, but it definitely is larger than most of the luxury ships out there. But what this enables us to do is provide not only the intimate touches that luxury guests are looking for, but also provide all the entertainment that only a large ship can provide. So the way we're talking about our brand is a little bit different than we have in the past. So now, you know, when you're on Cunard, it's very much about a feeling you get when you're there. You can describe all the onboard experiences and everything, but it's really, you don't completely know it until you're on board and you really feel it. So we're talking about it in a much more emotive way, where we're saying when you're on board, you're going to feel special, you're going to feel free, and you're going to feel inspired. So what does each one of those mean? So starting with special, this starts with our White Star service. And the White Star service is a staple of the Cunard service. Cunard really has always made sure that service was the most important thing on board, and our guests are taken care of well. And that legacy continues today on board. We also have one of the best ratios of crew to guests on board of 2 to 1 for a large ship experience. So that really helps with the White Star service to make it really pop that much more. And then, of course, our signature Cunard experiences, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a bit. Next up is Feel Free. So this starts with our space on board. So we have one of the largest ratios of square footage to passengers. So no matter where you are on board, you're never going to feel like you're crowded. Also, the free also talks to the flexibility. You know, today's luxury guests, they want the flexibility to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And Cunard really provides that as well. We'll get into the whole dressing up for dinner, because I know it's always a hot topic when it comes to Cunard, but we do have flexibility when it comes to that as well. And of course, time for you. You know, I think, you know, especially with our transatlantic crossings where you get a lot of those sea days, I think more and more today people are looking for those opportunities where they can kind of detach from their mobile devices and things like that, and really just have time for themselves. And so Cunard provides that. And then finally, feel inspired. Now this starts with our legendary voyages to iconic cities. Many of these are, Cunard was the first one to sail there. Our world-class Insights program, which is our lecture series on board. A big psychographic of the Cunard experience is those people looking for enrichment beyond a vacation, and Cunard provides that as well. And as an extension of that, we're doing more and more special event voyages. So we'll spend some time talking about those things. So, you know, Cunard experiences are very unique to Cunard. There's nothing like them, and I think it's always good to really talk about that. And so the first one you always got to start with is the formality, because it's probably the #1 thing I hear when I talk to people is, well, you know, I don't know if my guests want to get dressed up every night. And there is this perception that you have to get dressed up every single night, that it's a very stuffy experience, and it's really, really not. Now, the formality is a big part of the Cunard experience. It is something that, you know, I think there's a lot of people that are craving those opportunities to get dressed up. It creates this sense of occasion on board for sure. And so, you know, I think, you know, we've done a lot of research to see, you know, what people's mentality is about getting dressed up. And I think it surprises most people that, you know, people like the idea of and to have those opportunities every once in a while. Now, it's not just about getting dressed up for dinner. Every single formal night has a theme ball attached to it. And these themes are fantastic and a lot of fun. We do, of course, a masquerade ball on every single sailing, and that one's always really popular. Our black and white or Cunard ball. We're doing a new one called the Roaring Twenties ball. And, you know, these really come alive in our Queen's Room, where we have the largest dance floors at sea. We have a live orchestra every single night. And, you know, it's not just like ballroom dancing, like stuffy ballroom dancing. It's very fun and has a great energy to it. And we're also doing some other themes. You know, we're really trying to dial up this theme ball aspect because it is so popular. So we're even doing some that are a little bit more on the casual side, depending on where you're sailing in the world on Cunard, like an Australia ball, a Buccaneer ball, Hawaiian ball, and Neptune's ball. So we're really having fun with these, and our guests are really loving them. Now, we liken this whole formal night experience as, you know, think about if you're going into New York City. You know, you might get dressed up a little bit more because you're going to do a night out in town. So you might get dressed up a little bit more. You might go out for drinks and a great dinner in a fantastic restaurant there. Then you might go to Broadway and see a fantastic show in a beautiful theater. And then maybe you're looking for some live entertainment afterwards. Well, you can do all of that on a Cunard ship in the middle of the ocean. And when you think about that, that's pretty special. And it really is a special and unique experience. So then, you know, then I definitely want to address, what if I don't want to get dressed up? What if it's a formal night and I just want to relax? Well, we do make it a lot. We do provide some different options now. In the past, it had just been our Lido Court or our King's Court anytime dining. That was your only option. Now we have a number of other venues that are available that are casual in the evening, even if it's a formal night. So our Golden Lion Pub, which we have on all 3 ships, that is completely casual now. So you could go there, you can have a little bite to eat, you can have some drinks, some great entertainment. There's things like karaoke, playing darts, a lot of fun in that venue. Also, our casinos are now casual every night, and our nightclub, so our G32 on Queen Mary 2, and our yacht club on Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth. So there really are a lot of fantastic options now that you can go and be casual, enjoy the evening, and just, you know, and then, you know, maybe you want to get dressed up one of the nights, but just not 2 of the nights. So, but it's also important to put, for those people who are kind of going for the whole Cunard experience and getting dressed up, it's good to put it into context. So on a 7-day sailing, you'll typically have 3 formal nights. The dress code for those formal nights for men, dark suit and tie. That's really as simple as that. It doesn't have to be a tuxedo. Now, you will see a lot of tuxedos, but it's as simple as that. For ladies, anywhere from, you know, a simple cocktail dress, where you do see some ball gowns out there, like a suit separates. You know, it's actually a lot of flexibility there. But as long as, you know, you dress nice, you're going to fit right in, you're going to blend right in. Now, on the informal nights, it's actually a little bit more relaxed than that. Men don't have to wear a tie at all. We do request a jacket. So you could have a polo on, though, underneath that jacket, and you'll be completely fine. So it does come down, and women can wear just a nice casual dress, and they'll be fine as well. But you will see during the daytime, as you can see up in that top right corner, it's a very relaxed environment. Shorts, t-shirts, completely fine. It's not a stuffy experience at all, and I think this always surprises people once they get on board. Other unique Cunard experiences. Now, I mentioned our theaters. Our theaters are fantastic, and as you can see, it looks like a beautiful theater from like the West End or on Broadway with these boxes that we have. Now, the Royal Box is a very special experience. It's an extra charge of $25 per person per evening. You get a small bottle of champagne. You get hors d'oeuvres that are served in this little lounge area that's behind the boxes. Small little desserts and things like that. But, you know, what a way to celebrate a special occasion, to have it here in one of these boxes, to really get the most out of these fantastic production shows that we have, where most of our performers are classically trained. Of course, we also have the only planetarium at sea on Queen Mary 2. Now, this is really, really special. This is the theater where we do our lectures, but certain times during the day, we have seats in that theater that are a different color than the rest of the seats. And those seats also recline, and as you can see, this big dome then lowers down onto you. And these fantastic planetarium shows are projected up onto this screen. They're narrated by the likes of Morgan Freeman, Robert Redford, and they are really, really popular on board. Now, I always say, you know, people bring books thinking like on Transatlantic Crossing, oh, I'm going to be bored, I better bring a book. But I've heard this story many, many times that people say, oh, I brought books, I thought I'd be bored, and I didn't open one book the whole time. But if you really do want to read, we do have the largest libraries at sea. And as you can see, really, really beautiful space there with that spiral staircase and the wood craftsmanship. This is another staple of the Cunard ships. Again, kind of harkening back to the ships of the past, where the attention to detail, the craftsmanship of how the ships are designed and look are really beautiful. We were the first to have Canyon Ranch Spa on board, and as you can see, really beautiful spa space. Every treatment you could ever ask for, all the amenities you could ever be looking for, about 2,200 square feet of spa space. And then, of course, we have a gym in addition to that up there in the right corner on all three of our ships, too. And, of course, our Queen's Room. Now, I mentioned on formal nights, it's not just about getting dressed up for dinner. It's going to the balls. Well, the balls happen in the Queen's Room. And the Queen's Room, it's not just about those evenings with the largest dance floors at sea. It really is a kind of an entertainment hub of the ship. There are things going on all day in the Queen's Room. So an example of a typical day sometimes we have acting troupes from Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts on board, and they'll do an acting lesson in the morning. And then around noon every day, our professional dancers on board will teach a different dance lesson each day. And then, of course, being a British product, you got to have proper afternoon tea every day at 3 o'clock. The way it's supposed to be done, with white tablecloth, white gloves, the best scones you'll ever have, fantastic. And then, of course, in the evening, that space really, really comes alive with live band every night and tons of people out there dancing on the dance floor. That dance floor gets so full, it's so popular. And as you can see up there in the right-hand corner, sometimes we have fencing lessons in the Queen's Room as well. So there's always something going on. It's a fantastic, fantastic space. If you want something a little bit more contemporary, we've got great nightclubs on each one. I mentioned G32 on Queen Mary 2, the Yacht Club on Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth. We have a live band in there each night, as well as a DJ afterwards. So a lot of fantastic contemporary entertainment there. And then, of course, our casino. As you can see, people are dressed up in the casino there, but we have made that much more relaxed. So that will be a little bit more of a mixture, probably people dressed up and people casual there. Lots of fantastic lounges. The nightlife on board the Cunard ships is really lively and a lot of fun. Some great alternative dining options. Of course, I mentioned our King's Court up there in the top right corner, which is our anytime dining. The top left corner there is our main specialty restaurant. This is called the Veranda. It's on all 3 ships. It's Southern French cuisine. Really fantastic, elevated experience. People really love that. We've had some fantastic feedback about it. And then another experience I want to mention is part of our King's Court or Lido restaurant in the evening is partitioned off from the rest of the space. So it looks like, it's not like just a curtain or something. It is another wall that basically comes up and partitions off that space. And we create this different pop-up restaurant experience each night. So one night it may be called Smokehouse, and it's a barbecue theme. One night it's called Coriander, and it's a Indian theme. And so this has been really popular. We've been doing this for a few years now, and guests have really loved it. Small surcharge there of $15 per person per evening, and in Veranda it is $49 per person per evening. And as I mentioned, lounges, tons of lounges, Golden Lion Pub. Of course, got to have a British pub on board, a British product. We've got a champagne bar. We've got our one of our most popular spaces, and my favorite is those bottom 2 left, the bottom left picture and that bottom center picture, which is our Commodore Club. Front of the ship, this great 270-degree panoramic view of the ocean as you're sailing out into the horizon. Great place, highly recommend it if you go for cocktails before dinner. It's all lit up in a really fantastic way. So that's a really, really great lounge. And then our new partnership with Godiva Chocolate. So we've got our cafe where we serve Godiva chocolates, Godiva desserts, as well as specialty coffee drinks. I put together this slide real quick just to give you a little bit of did you know, because I think there's a lot of things about Cunard people don't realize. We do have a full kids program. We've got 3 different areas for different age groups, including we have evening care for children as young as 6 months, depending on the itinerary, where if their parents want to go and have their night out in town experience on a formal night, their kids are looked after there. We have gentlemen dance hosts on every single sailing. Actually, we also have lady dance hosts as well. So if you need a dance partner, we've got somebody to dance with you each night. Of course, tapping into our fantastic history, all of our ships have a maritime history walk where you can kind of see the great Cunard history, the ships of the past, all the famous people that have been on board over the years. I mentioned Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts is on some of our transatlantic crossings. Many of our performers on board are classically trained from the likes of the Juilliard School. And all entertainment on board, even our special event cruises, this is all part of your cruise fare. There's never an additional charge for any of that. So I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about our grill suite experience. Now, our grill suite is our main suite experience. It is really elevated. Now, that name grills, I think, throws people sometimes, but this is part of our history. So if you are ever in Long Beach, California, the original Queen Mary, as you may know, is a hotel there. Goes to the back of the ship, and you will see the original Veranda Grill. And the Veranda Grill was the elite restaurants where everybody wanted to dine. So we took that name Veranda to use for our specialty restaurant, and we took the name Grills for our suite experience. So the grills, to tell you a little bit about that, the amenities are fantastic. Now, we have 2 different experiences. We've got the Princess Grill, which is essentially like a mini suite. And then we have our Queen's Grill, which is our main suite experience with suites going up to 2,400 square feet. Really, really beautiful accommodations there. In the Queen's Grill, you do get a butler who will look after your every need, will pack, unpack for you, anything that your guests are looking for there. And as you can see, all these other amenities here that what you get in the grills. Now, the difference between the grills, I think the second misconception that always comes up after the stuffiness is that people say, oh, well, Cunard's a class system. And it's so far from the truth, because the Queen's Grill and the Princess Grill really don't create kind of a class environment at all. Now, of course, the accommodations are elevated from balconies and below. But the only other difference, the only other space on the board that's on board the ship that is exclusive to these guests are the restaurants. So if you are in the Queen's Grill, you dine in the Queen's Grill restaurant. If you're in the Princess Grill, you dine in the Princess Grill restaurant. Those are the only spaces on board that's exclusive to those guests. Everything else on board is available to everyone. Now, these dining experiences are elevated to another level, especially in the Queen's Grill. Now, if you're in the Queen's Grill, you're going to have this fantastic menu, a lot of great tableside preparation, things like that. But if you don't see anything on the menu you like, you can order off the menu. We even have guests that will bring on their favorite recipe, and if the chef has a day's notice and all the ingredients in the kitchen, they will prepare that for them. The space is also very beautiful. Now, the picture I want to show here is what we call the courtyard. It is an al fresco dining experience for grill guests. And this, as you can see, it sits kind of sunken into the ship, and it sits in between the Princess Grill and the Queen's Grill restaurant. So both of those guests can dine out here on this patio. Because it's sunken in, you don't get the wind and things like that. So what a great setting for a nice dinner, or if it's not too hot during the day, to have a great breakfast or lunch out there as well. And of course, the Grills Lounge. Now, the Grills Lounge is basically a bar lounge that's right in between these two restaurants, and it is just for those guests as well. So let's talk a little bit about our Insights Lecture program. So as I mentioned, this is a big part of the Cunard experience. One of our big psychographics are guests that beyond the vacation, they're looking for enrichment. On every single sailing on Cunard, you're going to have 4 to 6 lectures on board, and they come from all walks of life. So you could have a diplomat, you could have an author, you could have an astronaut, maybe a former sports star, an actor, an actress. But what they all have in common is they're all very, very dynamic speakers. Our theater where we do our lectures is full every single lecture, standing room only. Such a popular experience that our guests really love. Now, as an extension of that, we're doing more and more special event cruises. So I want to give you a little sampling of what those look like. On Queen Mary 2, in 2018, we're going to be doing our 3rd year of Transatlantic Fashion Week at Sea, where we have people from the fashion world, we have models on board, we do runways. It's been extremely popular. And you finish in New York at the beginning of New York Fashion Week. So if you love that world, this sailing is for you. We've also partnered with Ancestry.com to do a journey of genealogy. Now, this is such a natural fit for Cunard. 1 of every 5 people who immigrated to North America via ship did so on a Cunard ship. So we've got that fantastic connection of people's ancestry. This is such a great partnership we think for us, and we're also doing a post-cruise excursion out to Ellis Island. So if you want to, we're going to have speakers on board from the genealogy world, and we think it's just going to be great because we have people that do transatlantic crossings just for that reason. They know that their family immigrated by ship and just kind of go in their ancestors' footsteps. We've also partnered with the New Yorker Promotions to do Cartoonists at Sea, and as you can see, there's a number of sailings there, and that's the connection with New York is fantastic. The New Yorker is such a classic magazine, and so I think this is going to be a lot of fun. We also did this last year for the first time, and we're doing it again, where we are partnering with the Greatest Generation Foundation, and they work with war veterans. And so we are having a number of World War II veterans on board. And this is a sailing coming up very soon. We have a little bit of space left, but it is going fast, July 20th. And what a once-in-a-life opportunity to have the chance to interact and listen to the stories that these gentlemen have to tell. And as you can imagine, they're getting up there in age. They're all in their mid-90s, but they have such rich stories. It was our best rated sailing last year from an onboard experience, onboard entertainment standpoint. So we're really looking forward to having these gentlemen on board again. One of these things, this isn't really, I would say, an insights program or a special event cruise, but it's one of these special things that only happens on Cunard. So last December, we partnered with Fox and did the very first world premiere on board a cruise ship for a major motion picture where The Greatest Showman was screened. Now, the connection here is that the story is about P.T. Barnum, that he sailed a number of times on Cunard when he was when his show started getting big, and when he brought his first big star, Jenny Lynn, over to America, he did so on Cunard. He was also a lecturer on board Cunard later on. So there's that fantastic connection, and it was such a great venue. Queen Mary 2 was the perfect venue for a red carpet event. As you can see, all the stars were on board, including Hugh Jackman. He was on the Tonight Show up there in the top left corner right before the premiere, and they were talking about Queen Mary 2 and how special this red carpet premiere was going to be, being on board a cruise ship. Now, I want to talk a little bit about our ships and our fleets. We do have a relatively small fleet of only 3 ships, but it is a fleet that we invest a lot in. Our ships are regularly going into dry dock to make sure that they are tip-top, that they are providing our guests with the best experience on board. And we have a very special fleet. As I mentioned, Cunard has some of the most famous ships ever throughout our history, anywhere from the QE2 to the Mauritania to the original Queen Mary. Just fantastic history and lineage of famous ships and ocean liners. Now, Queen Mary 2, I think most people know about Queen Mary 2. She's probably our most famous ship right now. She is the largest ocean liner ever built, the only ocean liner carrying passengers today. Everything else out there is a cruise ship, and there's a very distinct difference between a cruise ship and an ocean liner. So let me just tell you kind of those design features. Looking at this picture, you really get the idea, is that she's got a very narrow V-shaped hull. Now this makes her very efficient for cutting through waves in the ocean. She also has very deep draft, meaning she sits very deep in the water. Very thick steel, about twice the thickness of a typical cruise ship, and very special stabilizers, 4 special stabilizers on the side. All of these things make her more stable in the water, stronger in the water. She's also the fastest passenger ship at sea. So very, very special ship. And why is she made that way? Well, she's made for transatlantic crossings. Cunard's the only regular transatlantic crossing service. And no matter what the weather conditions are, she handles it like a breeze. I always like to tell the story of my very first transatlantic crossing, which was December 2013. And as you can think about the North Atlantic in December, you have a chance of it being a little bit of rough waters. Well, we had 18 to 20 foot swells for the first 5 days. And of course, you feel the up and down as you're going over waves, but you don't get the side to side that you typically would on a cruise ship. And I'll never forget being one evening at dinner in the Britannia restaurant, which is very low on the ship. And there's these great floor to ceiling windows and there's waves crashing up against those windows. It looks like we're basically underwater. But your wine glass is sitting on the table and just barely moving. So this ship is very well equipped for no matter what the weather conditions are outside. And we do a number of transatlantic crossings throughout the year. Now, transatlantic crossing experience, it is kind of the quintessential Cunard experience. There's so many different ways that you can position it. Not only, as I mentioned, the grandest ocean liner ever built, but it very much transcends cruising. Again, this connection to people immigrating to the U.S. via ship. There's that connection. Cunard ships were used to transport troops in the war, so there's that military connection. And there's a number of guests that they want to go to Europe, but they don't want to fly. Well, Cunard provides this great opportunity to do a nice leisurely crossing over 7 days over to Europe. We adjust the clocks an hour each day, and once you arrive, no jet lag, you just step off the ship and you're ready to go, all refreshed. So it's a great way to package with something land-based that works really well for a lot of our partners. Very much a bucket list experience. I think anybody who loves cruising may think that you need to do a transatlantic crossing. You got to do one in your life. And believe it or not, we get a lot of people who have never cruised before that do a transatlantic crossing because they see it as a very different experience than a cruise. They see it more as an adventure and a voyage. And it's also a fantastic fit for affinity groups. If it's a large group getting together, whatever their activity, whatever their affinity is that they want to do, you've got all these sea days, and we have great meeting space for them that they can really make the most of that opportunity. So a lot of different ways that you can position that transatlantic crossing. Now, Queen Mary 2 went through a major refit 2 years ago now. It's amazing it's been 2 years. We called it Queen Mary 2 Remastered. And the ship looks beautiful today. I just was on a few months ago. and just fantastic. We recarpeted the ship throughout, new soft furnishings through much of the ship. We redid every single suite and stateroom, so it's got a new, fresh look to it. As you can see there, very contemporary looking. Our new Queen's Grill. Our Queen's Grill restaurant and our Princess Grill restaurants were completely redone. So you can see there, more tables for two as our guests were requesting that. We also added single staterooms to Queen Mary 2. So now all three of our ships have single staterooms, as we are seeing a huge growth, as I'm sure you are, of single travelers out there. We added a new venue called the Corinthia Lounge, really beautiful multi-purpose space during the day. It's a nice relaxed lounge where you can have cocktails, you can have small bites to eat and patisseries. In the evening, it becomes more of a evening lounge, but is also still very relaxed. We also have the largest port and sherry collection at sea in the Corinthia Lounge, with ports going back as far as 1840, the very first Cunard sailing. As I mentioned, our Veranda Grill, our Veranda Restaurant, we redid this with the remastering as well. Very much inspired in style by the original Veranda Grill on the Queen Mary. And of course, you can't talk about Queen Mary 2 without talking about the kennels. Cunard does have the only kennel experience at sea, only on Queen Mary 2 and only on Transatlantic crossings. But it is a fantastic experience. We can accommodate cats and dogs. I took this picture of their own deck space. This is only for the pets and their owners. No one else on the ship can access this area. And of course, in true Cunard style, we installed an actual Brooklyn fire hydrant and an actual Liverpool lamppost, so we can make dogs from both sides of the pond perfectly happy to take care of all their needs. But it's a really fun experience, especially if the kennel master sees that all the dogs can play nicely together. Certain times during the day, they let them run around on the deck, and it is fantastic and so much fun to see. They're perfectly safe. They can't get out of that area. So we really love it. And that's what the kennels look like. Large kennels are $1,000 for crossing. Small kennels are $500. Now I want to talk a little bit about Queen Victoria. Now she just came out of dry dock last year. Now with Queen Mary 2, we spent a whopping $132 million on her. Being the only ocean liner, she required a lot of behind the scenes upgrades. Now, Queen Victoria didn't spend quite as much, but still $40 million we spent on her. And so she has been completely refreshed. We added some new suites. We refreshed every single stateroom and suite on board. Just wanted to share some of those images. Really beautiful new penthouse suite that we have there. Our grand suite, brand new color palette, all new soft furnishings. We added the Britannia Club restaurants. Now this is a special, I should put all the restaurants in context. So I mentioned the Queen's Grill restaurant for Queen's Grill guests, Princess Grill restaurant for Princess Grill guests. Everyone else on the ship dines in the Britannia restaurant, which is actually one of the most beautiful spaces. It's a 2-story grand space. But we also have this experience called Britannia Club. So it's our top balcony categories. They dine in this restaurant, which is a little bit more intimate than the Britannia restaurant. Exact same menu, but again, just a little bit more intimate, and you have your own assigned table and chair for the whole sailing. So whereas in Britannia, it's really kind of first come, first serve, and it's assigned seating as you arrive. So that's the difference in the dining. So Britannia Club restaurant was not on Queen Victoria. It was the only ship that we didn't have it, so we have added it now, so we have the consistency. Brand new chart room that we built, really beautiful contemporary lounge. We redid our yacht club, our nightclub experience, and a new midship bar experience with our signature gins, where we have a different gin for each of our ships, Queen Mary 2, Queen Victoria, and Queen Elizabeth, all very different. So for those gin lovers, this is a really fun experience as well. And a brand new Lido deck that was built on the back of the ship as well. So real excited that Queen Victoria looks brand spanking new, and then Queen Elizabeth will be the next one. Now, great news is that in 2022, we will be getting our first new ship in 12 years, yet to be named, but she'll be about 3,000 passengers, and it's really exciting to get a new ship in the Cunard fleet. She will be actually the 249th ship to carry the Cunard flag. So again, it kind of brings home that history and how rich and it is. Now let's talk a little bit about destinations. I think everybody associates us with transatlantic crossings, but we really go everywhere in the world. So just a few highlights there. World Cruise, Cunard's been doing World Cruise the longest. Since 1922, the very first World Cruise was Cunard on the Laconia, as you can see there. And for more than 80 years since then, Cunard's been doing World Cruises. So we feel like we're kind of the expert there. In 2019, we're running out of space, but we still have a little bit here and there. Queen Victoria will be doing a full circumnavigation of the globe, as you can see there. And Queen Mary 2 will be doing this really unique. We really mix it up each year, so that these World Cruise itineraries are very different. Queen Mary 2 is going to be recreating the Far East historic Silk Route, so that's really a fun itinerary there. And then Queen Elizabeth, she's going to be spending, her World Cruise is mainly going to be Southeast Asia and Australia, but then she's going to come up and her last segment, because we do segment all of our World Cruises into smaller sailings, so you can do anything from 5 days all the way up to a full World Cruise of 125 days. So here what I wanted to highlight is Queen Elizabeth's very last segment is she's going to go from Tokyo all the way over through Alaska and finish up in Vancouver in this very immersive 38-night sailing. Really, really cool itinerary. Now the significance of that is it's going to bring Cunard back to Alaska for the first time in 20 years. And so once Queen Elizabeth is there, she's going to do a small Alaska season where she's going to do 4 10-day round trip sailings out of Vancouver. Now these are really fantastic itineraries. We're really going to hit every single major port in Alaska. So not only the usual Ketchikan, Sitka, and Juneau, but we're also going to do a full day in Victoria. We're going to stop in Sitka and Icy Strait Point, as well as seeing the Hubbard Glacier and going into Tracy Arm. So as you can see, it's a very, very rich itinerary. Now, in addition to that, we've partnered with Rocky Mountaineer Rail. So either pre or post, you can do a rail experience to Calgary, 3 to 5 days, see Banff and Lake Louise, and we think this partnership with Rocky Mountaineer really makes a lot of sense. The products line up really well. Now, once Queen Elizabeth finishes there, she's going to come down the coast. This is significant because we don't get our ships on the West Coast a whole lot. So we're really excited to have these coastals from Vancouver down to Los Angeles and all the way down, or you can stop in San Francisco. You can also combine that with that last 10-day Alaska sailing and make it a 13 or a 15 night. So there's some nice flexibility there. And then once she finishes there, she's going to come down through the canal. And, you know, there's not a whole lot of Panama Canal experiences in the summertime. So this will be unique in that respect too. And you can go anywhere from, you can leave out of Vancouver, San Francisco, or Los Angeles and finish in either Fort Lauderdale or New York. Some other itinerary highlights. Cunard has one of the most diverse European itinerary offerings. So if you have guests that are looking for a European cruise, Cunard always has something exciting, anywhere from the Mediterranean to the Baltic, Canary Islands, up into Iceland, lots of different options there. And then Cunard's going to be doing more itineraries in Canada, New England as well. Now, Queen Mary 2, she's kind of a regular tenant of New York. She home ports there in Red Hook in Brooklyn. And that's usually to do the transatlantic crossings back and forth, but also a couple of times during the year, she'll go up into Canada, New England, all the way up to Quebec. And so those itineraries are really popular with our guests as well. And those are some of the other highlights here. A number of different sailings. Again, we really kind of go all over the world. Shifting gears to 2020, our 2020 world itineraries just were released last month. So Queen Mary 2 will be doing this fantastic itinerary going down around Africa, all over Australia, Southeast Asia, through the Suez Canal, and visiting 38 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Now, Queen Elizabeth will be doing similar to this to 2019, where she's spending a lot of time in Australia, a lot of time in Asia. In particular, she's really going to spend a lot of time in Japan, as you can see there. And again, like 2019, in 2020, she's also going to come down through Alaska to finish up her world cruise. And then Queen Victoria's going to do something a little bit different. We did this a few years ago where she does this very port-intensive itinerary around South America. And you can do this round trip out of Fort Lauderdale. And 23 voyage combinations ranging from 2 to 82 nights. So a lot of different options there as well. Just shifting gears now about how you can sail Cunard, and how we try to provide a lot of great tools. One of the best is our Cunard Academy. Cunard Academy, I'd like to argue too, is of all the those kind of training modules out there, the Cunard one is one of the most interesting because it has a lot of that maritime history in it. So if you become a Commodore and you sail 2 sailings, your graduation present is a free Cunard sailing. Now we are looking to maybe bring that minimum to sail down, so we're working on making it a little bit more attainable. But it's a great way to not only learn about the Cunard product, but also about everything cruise related and maritime history. Now our sales program, I think it's some of the richest out there in the industry when you think about the combinability of all of these programs. So our group program is fantastic. You get savings on all sailings. You get double amenities for guests booked in the grill suites. And our TC ratio is as low as 1 for 8. And if you open up a group and you only book 1 guest, they're still going to get the amenities. You're going to get everything you were promised. There's no minimum to have that group sail. Our cruise sales are very rich. We have an onboard credit component up to $300 per stateroom in that. You have a reduced deposit as well as a bonus commission in there. And so you can set up to 8 of these per year for 1 week sales. So they're a really great way to give your guests a little extra on top of whatever our limited time offer is at the time. And our limited time offers are also always combinable with our group program. So any kind of offer, any sale that we have outside final payment on a sailing is combinable with all of these. Also, if your guests are sailing, this is such a no-brainer. Put down a deposit for a future sailing. They don't have to decide what they're going to do. It's fully refundable if they decide not to, and they're going to get a great onboard credit. And this business automatically goes back to you as being the original travel agent of record. And of course, our military program for both our active and retired military personnel. Again, an onboard credit component there of up to $250 per stateroom. And again, all of these programs, you can layer them on top of each other. And when you think about that, the value proposition becomes very high. I think a lot of times people think that they can't afford Cunard, but the value proposition is very strong. You're going to get a luxury experience, but sometimes the price points are even reasonable. But then when you also think about all these value adds that you can offer your guests, it's really rich. Now, our current offer is the Big Balcony event, and that is for guests will receive up to $1,400 per stateroom of onboard credit. So that's up in the suites, obviously, and then it reduces down to other accommodations, but a great onboard credit. And again, this combines with all those programs that I mentioned before. And then our grill guests, what they get is free drinks and free gratuities. And this is something for grill guests. We're starting to make these free drinks and free gratuities basically available to all grill bookings throughout the year. And those are some of the price points. As you can see, the price points are fairly reasonable for a luxury experience. Now, the last thing I want to mention is we have a great trade-facing, travel agent-facing Facebook page that we launched last year, and we've been having a lot of fun with it, putting a lot of great video content out there, keeping you updated of all of the fun and exciting things going on in the world of Cunard, as well as whatever our current sales are. And this is really just travel agent facing. We made this just for you guys. So check it out, follow us there, and we think you'll find some fantastic information on there. And so with that is my presentation. I want to thank you all for your partnership, and then just kind of open it up to any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Steve. That was great. Yes, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put those in the questions module, and we will just answer them as they come in. So the first question is from Bill, and he wanted to know, do veterans receive military onboard credit?
They do. So we have our military program is available to all sailings, all active and retired military personnel. It's a pretty rich onboard credit, up to $250 per stateroom, depending on the accommodations. And again, it combines with everything else out there.
Awesome, thank you. And I know personally, I really love to learn about all of the entertainment. So I can't remember if you said this, but all of the entertainment is inclusive, correct?
It is. And, entertainment is something we, especially with, when you got transatlantic crossing, you have all those sea days, like having a fantastic onboard experience is really important. So all the entertainment is always part of your cruise fare. There's never going to be an extra charge of any kind.
Awesome. Yeah. And does the entertainment vary between ships, or is it just kind of just depending on the voyage?
Yeah, there's some consistency of production shows across the ships. We do try to rotate those around as much as possible and have a number of different ones on board. So I would say that's very similar to a lot of other cruise experiences where you get that. But I think what you get that's different on Cunard is as I mentioned, a lot of our performers are classically trained. So you really get kind of a little bit different experience from the caliber of talent that we have on board, and just a variety of different things that you've got going on with all the different venues.
Great. All right, so then, yes, there's a couple of questions about, is this presentation being recorded? We have been recording, and we will post that on Cruise TV once this is wrapped. So just a last call for questions. Cheryl, she's asking if the slides will be available via PDF. I'm not sure if that's something we can do, Steve, but I can, certainly the PDF will be, the images will be included in the recording as well.
Okay.
All right, well, I don't see any more questions. So Steve, if you have any last things you want to say, otherwise, thank you all so much for being on the call.
Well, thank you everybody for taking the time. I know how busy everybody is, and it says a lot when you make the commitment to spend time to educate yourselves. There's so many great products out there, and we know Cunard really provides a very different experience than anything else out there that you'll have to offer. So it's good to have it as part of your portfolio of cruise offerings. So thank you again for taking the time, and thank you for the partnership.
Thank you so much, Steve. I hope everyone has a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.